Hi, welcome to the Toilet Paper Diaries. Today, we'll be looking at the do's and the even bigger don'ts of what you're meant to do when you're doing virtual broadcasting on Zoom, Meet, Teams, and on cameras in your face. Welcome to the Toilet Paper Diaries.
Dave, I am really looking forward to this episode because I cannot tell you how crazy I go when I see some of the things that people do whenever they are on Zoom, whenever they are doing live broadcasting. We are now over 1 year over the lockdown and people still look, can I say idiots?
Well, no, you can't say idiots, but well, you just have. I think they look amateur, but here's the thing. Most people do. Most people don't know how to do it properly or even a gesture towards doing it. So when it's like that, you only notice what everyone else is doing. And so consequently, if you don't know any better, you think everyone's doing it okay. But those who can do it properly, well, they're always going to be the winners. And that's basically what today's show is all about.
That is correct. We want to make sure that you look like a superstar. So if you're watching, make sure to keep on watching till the end. Make sure to give us a like, give us some comments, and laugh together with us because we're going to see some amazing things and some very good points that you should not do and some very good advice that you should do. So, Dave, can we just get started with some of the pictures? Because I think we compiled really nice composite of pictures of everything what goes wrong. So let's just see it right now on screen, and you can start with the first one. What is wrong with that first square?
Right, the first one, that's with Carol Baskin from The Tiger King, and she's the nemesis of Joe, who's now in prison, incarcerated for trying to kill her, or is she trying to kill him? I can never work out. But this is what many people do. They say, right, I've got a green screen, but they don't use it. It's no good having a green screen. It just looks green. You look like you're turning into a Hulk, or maybe you're standing behind his belly button. I don't know. But the thing is, you've got it as a chroma key. You're meant to actually superimpose something so it looks like you're somewhere else. If you're using it for green, then you've kind of missed the point.
Exactly. And number two, we have the person which is under the witness protection program. Never, ever use a screen. I like the screen like a window behind you, because if not, you're going to be completely dark and nobody's going to be able to see your face. And that's exactly what you want to avoid.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe it just doesn't want to be seen by anybody.
Exactly.
In which case, congratulations, you've done it just right. Number three, you can see somebody who looks like, do you remember those cartoon things called Chad, where you'd have a guy over a wall and you just see his nose and it'd say, right, what no something, like what no, I don't know, car or something like that. And it'd be like, that's what this guy looks like. So whenever you have your camera, you need to make sure it's framing you properly. Shoulders, maybe top of chest, and then your head's going to be fully in. Ideally, you want to have, and it's just the same as photography, you want to have a sort of distance like that, but your head doesn't actually want to be in the center, it's slightly above it. That's what you need to have. If it's any lower, then all people do is they look at your forehead and they wonder, what is it you're trying to hide? Or maybe you're only a little person. But what it means to people is they look at, and you might be their boss, but they're always thinking, yeah, but you're a little kid to me.
That is correct. Now, in the next one, I think it's just so typical. This is the one that it's having his laptop on his lap, and he's looking at the camera completely like this, or from below. Just look at that double chin. It's just terrible. You have to really avoid doing that, because that's actually even scary.
It's not even a double chin. It's like a hairy bum. It's not good. It's like his neck is eating his head. And that's never good. And that's a problem with most people. They really don't know about the fact of where you got to set it up so you got a proper studio at home wherever you are. You can't get away with it like this anymore, because before you could get away with it, it was a simple call for 2 or 3 minutes. But now this is how you're working all day. Nobody wants to see it. We knows that much. Nobody, not even you.
Fully agree.
Number 5 now. This is using a typical Zoom backdrop. Now, Zoom gives you a number of different ones you can play with, and they look nice, but everybody's got them. So if that kid is really in front of the Golden Gate Bridge, then there's a very good chance he's planning to jump, in which case stop him now. But luckily, you don't have to worry about that because it's such a bad setup where I'm not even sure if he's actually got a green screen or he's just superimposing it, but you can see the difference in color. So he's super dark, the backdrop is really bright, and there's no way anyone's going to fall into believing that's a jump. He's only going to fall onto his carpet anyway.
And you know which one is worse? The one that they have the waves, or the one that they seems that they are in the Northern Lights, or the beach. Oh my God, those are just so bad.
Well,
Don't use
the
them.
ones that have those palm trees remind me of that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where they're in this garden and it's like got giant roses and giant ants and giant everything. That's what it would be like if that really was true. And so if that is really you in a giant garden, then by all means carry on broadcasting. For anybody else, it's a big no-no.
Crazy. Next one is whenever you're going to be off camera, please make sure that you have a proper picture. I mean, get a proper picture. Sometimes it's important to get out of the camera. But what is even more important is that you have your proper name. I have seen people that use their nicknames or their funny names and whatever it is. And whenever you have it there, it just looks so incredibly professional. So make sure to get a nice photograph so that you can have it there. So whenever you have to be off camera, you can also look very nicely.
I also think I've attended a lot of meetings where people don't have their camera on and they just have their name like that. And it feels like you're talking to Darth Vader. And I've been in meetings where nobody's put their cameras on. What's the point in having that meeting? You can't certainly have a first-time meeting with people with your camera off because you've got no idea who you're talking to. And the excuse comes in, well, I've not done my makeup, or I don't feel up for it today. Well, be up for it for the 5 minutes or so to have the meeting. But after that, switch it off. I'll be gone. You can go and do your hair or whatever it takes after that. But just stay focused, be on camera. It's common etiquette.
Yeah, the etiquette says, well, if you need to close it for a couple of minutes, it's fine. But if you're going to go for an hour and the full hour you're going to have the name, that just looks very disrespectful also to whoever is presenting, unless the one which is presenting also has their camera off, because of course but the one that says the protocol is the one which is running the meeting.
Absolutely. But if you're going to go with cameras off, you might as well jump onto Clubhouse and then everyone can do the same way.
That is correct.
The next one is being in your face. I mean, seriously, in your face. I don't care what anybody looks like. I don't want to be that's freaking me out, Ernesto. Stop doing it. I don't care what anybody looks like. You don't want to see him that close, because the thing is, it really feels like they're in your space. And if that's how close they are when we're doing a broadcast to you, you're stuck with that all the way through. So that's a huge no-no. Keep your distance. Even if it's virtual, keep a bit of social distancing, because I don't want to be able to draw the outline of your face because I can't get it out of my head for the next 3 hours.
In the next one coming back, we have Mary. And this is once again when you have to go off camera. Have a proper picture. I mean, look at that picture. It's a rather unfortunate picture that Mary selected. But it's not only Mary. I mean, you have to be Mary Smith or Mary Jones or whatever your last name is. So make sure that for those moments that you need to switch the camera off, you also look professional.
Well, Mary's looking scary and very, very hairy. It looks like that. Do you remember the Van de Graaff units you used to have at school in the days when people actually went to school, where you put your hand on top of that globe and then your hair would sort of lift up? Yeah. She's clearly playing with one of them. So that gives her a good excuse to not be on camera, to be honest, but I wouldn't use that picture. So the next one here, I don't know if you can tell what's wrong with it, but everything kind of is in place, but in the wrong order. The lighting behind him kind of makes him look like he's dark, like he's a serial killer. The main picture and the focus has to be on the little kitten he's got next to him. You think it's like a glove puppet. And apart from the fact he looks really depressed to be there, which is okay, that's pretty much standard from lockdown behavior, it's just framing the whole thing slightly off. Now, I see most people who think they know what they're doing their shots like this, but set yourself up, do a screenshot, take a look, see whether that is really what represents you, your brand, your company, and what you want people to remember in the future. And the answer is no. Move your camera, change your backdrop, or at least change your t-shirt.
Yeah, that's a very important point, the one of the t-shirt, because he's wearing a bright orange t-shirt, which normally, for example, every time that we are going live, we're trying to use just dark colors, which are just not going to look bad with depending on the lighting and whatever. So I think that's another important point to take into consideration. On the next picture, and this is just one of the most typical. I mean, you know, it's called the pinhead. The pinhead picture, and it is when you are just a tiny little pinhead like that, and you can see it a lot better when you're two people. One person is really close and the other one is very far away. Whenever there's too much space above your head, you're not centered, and that makes you look really, really bad.
And also, it's partly because the nature of the cameras that you have got a slightly concave shape to them. So it's just like when you got a GoPro. If you get too close to a GoPro, it makes your nose look really big and it makes it really close to you. These cameras have a similar kind of shape to them. So even when you move back a distance, it does really make everything slightly distorted. And at least he's got massive hands. His hands are bigger than his head. So if he wanted to squash it into like a ball, he could go ahead. That'll be worth watching. He could keep the rest of his stuff like that. Next, we've got a guy who's been under the threat of the snap from Thanos, from Avengers. So when Thanos collected all the different stones of power and clicked his fingers, 50% of the universe disappeared. And when they started disappearing, they looked like this guy here. So clearly he's waving goodbye to his buffalo and saying goodbye to everybody. Now, this is caused by having a green screen, but actually this is caused by not having a green screen. And so therefore, the filters and the software can't really tell the difference between your head, your beard, and the picture behind you. So it just basically just makes it up and pretends that somehow there's a merge with that. I go back with green screen, maybe, do you remember 20 years ago when we first started using chroma key, when we had our first lot of TV shows? And what I used to do, because of my color of my skin, when I had a green screen behind me, it couldn't really tell what was going on. And so what happened was it would zone out certain parts of my head and put silver in place. So I looked like the Terminator once he'd been for a fight and bits of metal were showing through. It looks really cool, but not great for doing a broadcast with. And clearly this guy's disappearing. So Thanos, snap it again, bring him back.
And the very last one that we have here is possibly you've seen this video from the judge that was having that filter from a cat. And this one I haven't seen that much. However, I think it's important to have there because obviously it's definitely going to make you incredibly unprofessional.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
So well, it depends on the settings. I mean, it really depends on the session when you're going through. Clearly, the guy had his kids playing on and had a cat filter on, which is cute and it's nice. But then he was in a very important legal setting. And he got a cat talking with a little baby cat's voice while he's trying to make some kind of political or legal argument. And he was so embarrassed, he had to turn around to him entire courtroom setting and say, "I'm not a cat." And that's why he went viral. We know you're not a cat, but you do look like a bit of a idiot, got to be honest. So yeah, those are the definite don'ts to do when you're on camera.
So that was fun.
Always good. Always good. And there's plenty more where that came from.
That is right. So shall we start with the do's and don'ts? And this, I think, applies for Zoom, Teams, StreamYard, Be Live, whatever you're doing. It is just super, super important. Don't you think, Dave?
I think so. And I'll kick off with number one. I would say, first of all, in the do's, adapt the content to this new medium. Get familiar with the buttons, what they do, how to record, how to mute, how to turn your mic on, your camera on and off, getting your name spelt right, and also making sure it's popping up at the right place as well. And also knowing how to share screens. There's nothing worse than saying to somebody, you're on mute, when you're doing a really busy professional session, or saying, can I share the screen? Have you pressed the button? Yeah, I pressed it. Where is it? It makes everyone look amateur. And especially in a business meeting where you're trying to really position yourself to be at the top of the game, it makes you look like the worst of it. So make sure you know your way around whichever platform you are, which buttons you got to press.
The second no-no, which I think is just super important, is don't scream to the mic. I mean,
do that one again, Ernesto, because it froze for me.
Don't scream to the mic.
There you go. Thank you so much for that. I'll just clean out the rest of the wax later on.
I think
don't shout.
Don't do that.
No, don't ever do that. And don't even do that point again, Ernesto, because it was kind of loud. All right, next thing to do is make sure that you do set up the shot properly. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, making sure that you talk to the camera lens. Typically what can happen is the screen that you're talking to, or the person is down here. So you're looking at that, but you're not looking at the person in front of you. The person in front of you is going to be looking into the actual lens. So right in front of me, if I go like that, that's where the camera is. Sorry about that. That was a bit freaky. So even if I'm not looking at you, I have to talk to you like this, and it makes it look like I'm actually paying attention to you. And you can actually get software that maps your face. And it means that wherever you look, it will always make you look like you're looking at the camera to other people. So it doesn't matter what you're doing and what you're monitoring and what you're checking on, it'll always feel like you've got the full attention of the person in front of you. So make sure you got the camera lens right, do the lighting properly, make sure your chair is at the right level, and also make sure you wear something that suits the meeting. For me, I'm spending all day in meetings. I found that just a polo shirt, a formal black polo shirt or blue, kind of fits everybody. They don't expect me to wear a suit, it's too hot, but at the same time, they want it to look like there's some kind of collar on it. And this works really well.
Yeah, sometimes I mean, we have wear a suit and a jacket depending on what the occasion is. I mean, I think one of the things that we need to take into consideration is we have to dress for our audience, whatever that's going to be. But let me just don't derail where we are actually going right now. On the next one, what we need to make sure is that we are about the same size as the person that we're interviewing. I mean, right now, Dave and I more or less are the same size. But if I would be just sitting over here, can you see how ridiculous that looks?
You're a very naughty boy. Don't you ever do this again. Sit up straight, sit up properly, or you never come back on screen. There you go, back to normal size. See, makes a huge difference.
A huge difference.
So there you go. So make sure you got them right. Now, this really matters as well, because especially if you're doing an interview with somebody, it just looks weird, and doesn't matter how good the interview is. The other person who's watching it, or the audience, is always going to be saying, I can't take my head off it. It's really weird, especially if you've got somebody who's got a pinhead and somebody who looks like they've got a big bobblehead because they're getting too close to the camera. Yeah, that balance doesn't work.
So you do the bobblehead and I'll do the pinhead. How about that? So that actually it's just clear.
1, 2, 3. There you go. Having a look at me. Far too much in my bobblehead. And back to normal once again.
Back to normal, yeah.
Okay. Next one is always assume that camera is on. The camera is on, the microphone's on, people are paying attention to you. You never know what could be said. Just because you switch the camera off, but you still might have the mic on, people can tell what's going on. And from experience of being on stage all around the world, there's so many times that people don't know they've got a lapel mic that's actually active. Even when you're speaking on stage, sometimes when the mic is off, the technicians are listening to everything you say. And so you've got to be very careful how you talk about stuff. There's a famous situation with Ronald Reagan where he went through talking about pressing the button and going to war with Russia as a mic check. and it was recorded and it was shared. And luckily, people kind of went, oh, okay, but it could have been used in a different way completely. So be very careful. When you're on, assume you're always on.
Consider the case of Jeffrey Toobin, a deeply respected writer and television commentator who until yesterday served regularly as the on-air chief justice correspondent for CNN. Toobin has been a fixture on CNN for decades, and this story shows how he remained firmly placed among the media elite. Imagine this, a top-tier Zoom call. People on the call, some of the biggest writers from the most respected magazine in the country, along with not only folks from The New Yorker, from New York City's premier public radio station, WNYC. All told, about 20 people are on the Zoom call. There's some breakout rooms. Speaking of breaking out, according to press reports, at some point, Toobin engages in an intimate act of self-gratification, seemingly unaware that a Zoom camera is on.
That's crazy. Now, the next one is going to be never get up if you're not wearing trousers.
Nope.
And it is just an interesting thing. I mean, in the Bahamas, actually was the first time that I ever saw that the police were wearing a really nice hat, and then they were wearing a suit, and then they were wearing shorts. And then I started seeing that many people that were working there were working with a suit but shorts. And every time that I am wearing that I am doing a live, I could be in shorts, but I am aware of it, and I don't like to do it. Do you remember in the Toilet Paper Diaries, what was it, the 50th episode or something like that, that we actually showed our shorts just to say, well, we are just coping with the times? That was a joke, but if it is a serious thing, just don't do it.
Well, you can wear what you want or not wear what you want. I mean, I'm completely naked below the waist now, but I just won't stand up. So that's why I managed to get away with it. Otherwise, it'd be fun for everybody.
Let's just have a look at this video, because I have a very funny video here that you're going to enjoy exactly on this point.
Tony!
Can you hear us?
Tony!
Oh no! Don't, Jen, call him. Oh my gosh! Hold on, I'm gonna text a couple pictures of that. Oh. Oh. Oh boy.
What's up?
Tony, I can see you.
We can all see you.
Okay, number 7, do bring your best self. Always consider that what you do on camera, it might seem like a throwaway thing, but especially if it's recorded, that might be the only impression you get to make of somebody. So because this is relatively new, the relationship we're creating with people on digital stagecraft and digital ways of doing it, it means that people might never get a chance to have a first impression of you. If you were to walk into a business meeting, get into a boardroom wearing shorts, t-shirt, a baseball cap, and you say, oh, hold on, I've got to go and get a coffee, and you walk out again and come back in again, nobody wants to buy from you. So be very cautious and very aware that whatever you're doing with your voice and with your appearance and your body language and your attention and focus on the person in front of you, then they will take an impression from that. People also get tired watching you, not because you're not good looking, but because it's a long time to focus on the cues that we'd normally get from body language. We can only take them visually. So you have to make sure that you look after people properly by making it as easy as you can for them to like you.
Yeah. Number 8, it is about making sure, and we have mentioned it, they mentioned it a moment ago about the green screen. If you're going to be having a green screen, make sure to use it. It just looks so sad whenever I see those people that they're incredibly excited because they have a green screen and they let you see the green screen. I mean, the green screen is so that you don't have, that you use it to interpose something. But if you are just behind that green screen, it just looks so weird and so sad. And people think, well, you know, this is the professional thing to do, to have a green screen. But it isn't.
Have a green screen, but don't leave it green. That's the whole point. It's called a chroma key.
And when you have a green screen, make sure that the illumination, make sure that the lighting is good, because also it can really look very bad if you're trying to impose something and the green screen is too dark.
Absolutely. Next one, don't talk over everybody else. There's nothing worse than hogging the mic. It's true in real life. It's true in virtual life. Let everybody have their opportunity to talk. Some people love to carry on and on and on and on. And it means that people just zone out. They might be smiling, but they've already gone onto Facebook or onto YouTube or onto something else. And they were checking their emails while they're listening to you, if they've still got the attention span and listening to you. So make sure everyone gets a chance to talk. Otherwise, don't have that meeting.
Yeah, in Clubhouse, that is just a rule that needs to be implemented no matter what. It's just so desperate when you're in a group and everybody's talking. Cut it, yeah, please stop. Next one is do pause and breathe before turning the camera on. It just looks so incredibly unprofessional. And don't go live, especially don't go live until you're ready to go live. And we have been guilty of this when we were started. We didn't really know exactly where are we live. Is everybody there? Can everybody hear me? Just make sure that when really you're going to go live, that you are ready to go live. That's just absolutely a critical thing to consider before you jump into the airwaves.
Absolutely. And the way to look at it is, especially if you're a speaker, if you went onto a microphone and you're on a live stage and you tapped it and said, is it on? Is it on? People are going to go, oh my goodness, is it your first time live on stage? You know, there's lots of ways of doing it just simply by even having a microphone like this and talking, making it come closer to your mouth so you can hear it coming out through the speakers without having to ask anything like that. But you'd normally check with a thumbs up from somebody to make sure it's on. Check your settings. When you do go live, just let everybody know that you're in position, you're in place, and they can have the confidence to know that if you're delivering quality while you're broadcasting and chatting to them, the odds are you do the same thing in business as well.
Yeah.
Next one, don't leave your kids' settings active when you go on to your meetings. There's nothing worse than having your kids play with their friends on your laptop, on an iPad, on a phone, and then you get on, and not only do you look like you've got bunny rabbit ears, or you've got sunglasses on, or a big crazy hat, or even you look like a big cat, but you don't know how to switch it off. So you've got a specially scheduled meeting with the senior developers of some products all around the world and some decision makers, and there's money involved, and you look like a big fat frog. It's not good. Yeah. You're better off turning your camera off or just going home. Well, you are at home. Just turn the camera off.
Unless you're a big fat frog.
In which case, congratulations, it worked.
It worked, exactly.
But don't switch on the green screen.
Yeah, because if not, you're going to disappear. Now, things are going to go wrong. That is very sure. And I have never had a Zoom meeting where everything goes perfectly fine, or a broadcast where everything is going to be perfectly fine. Now, this is where you can see how good stagecraft you have, digital stagecraft you have. You have to be able to talk if there's an interruption, something is going wrong. You have to look that you're calm, that you're completely ready to handle whatever it is. So whatever is happening, make sure that you look completely in control, that you can talk through any disruptions, any interruptions, because that's going to make you look like a leader, like somebody that really knows what they're doing in this digital world.
Absolutely. And if you're hosting a conference or you're hosting the meeting, it's always worth making sure that you nominate a second who's got access to be able to be a co-host. So if your broadcast disappears, they can just carry on seamlessly and carry on where you left off until you can come back in again. There's many times that I've been in a meeting and just my internet's dropped off. Certainly in the old days, I've had to come and get let back into the room again. That's forgivable. People will understand that, but not if I have to wait too long for it. Now, if you're doing a sales meeting and you've got people with you on the same side, enable everybody to be a co-host. Make sure that they know that if something happens, they can jump in. Same as if your laptop freezes or your microphone stops working, you've got other options for that as well. And you can make sure that you get away with it, at least to make sure that you can get into a second time. Another thing that's useful for this is to make sure that when you are in a meeting like this, you've got a secondary way of chatting to your colleagues. So if your Zoom goes down, but you've got them on WhatsApp or on some text messaging or Instagram or Messenger, then you can still relate to them and tell them what's happening, so they can then relate to the group as to what's happening. So at least when you're on the way back, they'll know you're making an effort. Next one is don't go live until you're ready. I mean, do a test run, make sure you got yourself in place, make sure you're happy and capable. I've seen so many people going live on Instagram, on Facebook, on streaming services, holding their phone, and they're doing all the things that you shouldn't do. I'm looking up somebody's nose, I'm looking down somebody's head, it's wobbling all over the place. Now, we've had people say to us, no, just go live. But I'm saying no. Don't go until you're ready, because you might only get one chance to get people. And remember, you're becoming a virtual broadcaster. You're going live to the internet, to whoever wants to tune in and find you. And if they tune in and they find that you're pretty rubbish at doing it, they're not going to give you a learning curve. They're just not going to come back. And it doesn't matter how good you look and all the rest of it. People's patience for websites is probably about 3 seconds. For somebody who can't broadcast properly, it's probably only worth comedy value. But after a while, that gets stale pretty quick. So I would practice. Go live when you're ready. But if not, re-record it and then put it out as live, and it'll still work.
Yeah, this is a very important point, because what most people don't realize, they say, well, I'm going live, and they think it's a fun thing. We're going to be going live. But in reality, most of the people, I mean, that you will catch, possibly you're going to catch on the live run, you're going to catch, let's say, I mean, ourselves, when we were doing the Toilet Paper Diaries during the pandemic, we had over 1,000, 2,000 people live watching. That was just amazing. Right now, we are getting between 100 and 150, possibly sometimes less and whatever. But what happens is that the replays keep on playing, and they're going to be there. And if you have a really crappy video, very crappy presentation, it's gonna become part of history. So the recorded value of a live stream, it's also very important that most people don't even think about.
Absolutely. Treat everything as though that's the only version you're going to get. Don't go live until you're really happy to stick with it. And you don't ever have to go live. Looking at Oprah and Ellen, I mean, how many times have you watched Oprah Winfrey from decades ago? And one day she's thin, one day she's a little bit heavier, the next day her hair's changed. It doesn't matter. It still feels live because the show's recorded as live, even though you know it was decades ago. Bear that in mind. You're now a broadcaster, so do it effectively.
Yeah. One of the things that I suggest, and we have done it for a number of times whenever we have done the show, is create a Facebook group where only you and possibly a couple of people are there, and do several practice transmissions there, because then what's going to happen is you are going to become more comfortable with the medium. It really works. I mean, it is really sad to see sometimes how poorly how poor digital stagecraft skills people have. So that's why you have to remember, and this is the last point over here, do remember that this is a learning curve. I think Dave and I are very qualified to give you all this advice, because we have gone through 93 episodes of the Toilet Paper Diaries, plus 10 episodes of Fast Forward. And how many episodes have you done from your show, Dave?
My own show, probably about 85.
85 episodes. So, I mean, we have gone through every single one of these points. And this is exactly now what we are doing. I mean, we already know that we can help you become a better broadcaster, not only on Zoom, but on Meets, on whatever it is. We know all the technology. We know how everything is. And this is just an invitation. I mean, if you are at a point, or your company's at a point that requires some sort of help to look more professional, make sure to get in touch with us, because we can definitely help you.
Absolutely. And it's not going to go away. I mean, the thing is, people are not going to come out of lockdown and never go back on. Conference calls are here to stay. Traveling is still a bit of a no-no. It won't be forever. But why would you want to travel to the other side of the world for one meeting when you can do it like this and still see your own family? Some days I know exactly what the answer is. I just want to get away from them. But most of the time, the convenience of just jumping onto a call with immediate effect to have people from all around the world is second to none. And that's not going to go away. In fact, when we have more hologram technology, virtual reality, and augmented reality, you're going to end up with the whole boardroom being in front of you. And that's pretty much a thing now. So look forward to enjoying this technology, and it's going to get more sophisticated. And whatever you do, don't get people looking up your nose. It was a no-no before, still a no-no now.
Yeah, I recently spoke in an event. It was a virtual event, obviously. And afterwards, they created a sort of like a marketing thing. It was not done prior, it was done after. So all the pictures from all the speakers were actually the pictures that they were using from their presentation. And I mean, for me, of course, it was awesome because I looked like $1 million. I mean, I was wearing my tie and I had a very background and everything was really professional. But all the other ones really looked terrible. And I mean, you have no clue where these videos are gonna go. Right now, if you look for fails of YouTube, on soup on YouTube and whatever, it's just so many different things. So be very careful, because even though it is live, there's going to be a record from it absolutely everywhere.
Remember the fact that before, you'd always meet people. At some point, you'd bump into them in real life and you get to know what height they are, what weight they are, what smile they've got, and how funny they could be in real life. And also, if they've got personal freshness issues, there's a very good chance that nowadays, the people that you're meeting and communicating with, you might never see face to face, because there's never a need to go and see them. So all you're going to get is this. So make sure this is worth it for everybody, that you look good and they're not going, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I'm not seeing them face to face.
That's great. So I hope, guys, that you have enjoyed this. It was a nice compilation of all the tips and tricks that we can give you for digital broadcasting. It is now almost reaching the end of episode 93 on the Toilet Paper Diaries. Dave, this week has been also a bit crazy with this cargo ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal.
Well, here's the thing about the cargo ship. Not only is it bonkers, but it doesn't even really register as a story anymore. It's just an annoying thing that people go on about and you go, oh yeah, whatever. Because we've had so many crazy stories. I mean, I still haven't investigated to see whether the UFOs are real or not. I'm just going, okay, aliens are here. Well, I hope that they don't take all the space getting served in McDonald's.
Yeah,
that's as far as much as I care.
And just as a last news, which of course it just drives me crazy. We have now 110 million people vaccinated here in the United States, and now apparently we're facing some of the people that are completely against the vaccination. So now, of course, the steep is getting more and more difficult. So yeah, we're going to still be here in digital virtual world for a while.
I was reading about that, and I was just seeing about the nature of places like Israel, where they already have the haves and the have-nots. The people who have got their green pass that says they've been vaccinated are already allowed to go anywhere, take their masks off, communicate, sit, and do what they needed to do and what they used to do before, then get the best seats and all the best places. But those who haven't are like second-class citizens. Now, the thing is, once upon a time, do you remember when smoking was a thing? And so non-smokers and smokers on a plane would sit together, and then they separated them, but it didn't make any difference. You're still covered in cigarette smoke. Then it became a thing when we learned about the dangers of catching secondary cancer or secondary smoke cancer. And so then it became a real no-no. Don't bring your cigarettes near me. And they'd have a little place, a little quarantine area in an airport or somewhere where they're allowed to go next to an open window, maybe. But the thing is, with coronavirus, it's not even going to be that kind. You're going to find that people who haven't got their vaccine will be treated like second-class citizens, especially when they leave the country, where maybe they can get on planes, but they will be behind plastic sheets. And maybe they can sit in a restaurant, but they will have a special area where they let them in, if they let them in at all. Now, I'm not going to start a fight about whether you should or shouldn't get vaccinated. Yes, you should. If you don't, you're an idiot. But that's my thought on it. What's the worst thing that could happen? You're one of the 1 in 100 million where something goes wrong. What's the best thing that could happen? You can now get back to normal life, connect with people, hug the people you love, and not be in danger of carrying something that could hurt a third person. Please get vaccinated, not just for the green card, just because you can get back to the normal community where you can smell each other's farts. I miss that, but not too much.
on that note, I have to say, Dave, that right now, while we are in the digital world, this is the best thing besides being with you. So it is great that we are together. Guys, if you have been watching the show, give us your comments. Let us know what you think about all this craziness which is happening with Zoom and questions. Make sure to get in touch with us. And we will see you in the next episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries next week. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Pardon me. See you soon.
Depends on just like the ethical standards of the profession. And in reality, I've heard that social work kind of has very high standards and like good standards in terms of things. And that oftentimes people of other professions don't have. Yeah.
Hold on.
What happened?
I saw nothing.
Oh my God.
Jennifer.